Welcome, kings and queens, to another episode of Unapologetic, your number one podcast. This is the show where kings and queens tell their legacies and on. So get ready for the gems to drop and pull up to the table because we're ready. To begin with saying thank you for pushing me off the mountain of wherever the hell we was at that time when we first met, and somehow making it, I don't know, work for me. I flew some type of way. I don't know how I started flying, but I started flying. So I had to get that off my chest at first, man. I was thinking about that all day today.
Yeah, because it wasn't even a month that I had knew you, and I just kind of like Valen told you that you was gonna do this.
That's how it was, y'all. Y'all just tuned in, man. She told me that I was going to be an actor. I didn't know how to act. I mean, how to respond to that. So,
Hey.
man, but I had to get that thank you out of the way, because
You did
that was fun.
job. It was very fun. It was fun. Like I said, when I think about that cast, I was just really blessed to have a cast that we meshed. We had fun, and
right.
we had fun from beginning to end. So that's a blessing for my first production under D-Risen Productions. So thank you for being a part of that.
Y'all hear it? I'm legendary. Remember that.
The first.
Let me give a warm welcome to Miss Dearica Nichols Woods in the building of Unapologetic. I'm your favorite host, Melly Mill. As usual, we're going to make it like no other. We're going to talk about some great things, drop some gems on you guys. Y'all know I like to leave you guys with knowledge. In the beginning, when we first met, you told me your dream and your passion of what you like to do. And it was so many different things that you were doing. You're pretty much a poet, you're a teacher, you're so, you got so many hats. So
right.
The hardest thing that I kind of grasp is like, which one do she cling on to the most? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's is the first go-to? Because you'll go crazy trying to split yourself up. I mean, most people can do it, but it takes a toll after a while. So how did you balance that off?
That's a good question. Well, it only took me 3 years. It only took me 3 years to find the balance. But I think for me, just kind of prioritizing. So it's like I have my day job, which is the nonprofit Overcoming Barriers, where I'm the director of program development. So that's easily Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Then there's the D-Risen Production, which is my production company where I wanted to focus on the faith-based and mental wellness or health and wellness type productions, from infomercials. We did the play. And then recently I just kind of revamped my page to encompass everything that I have going on. So there's the plays, the infomercials, there's the quote unquote, the TV stage, conversations to have. I do the QPR training. And then last year, I just became a wedding officiant, so I can officiate weddings. So when you get ready to say I do, come see me. And then with that, I've also collaborated with my sorority sister who's offering premarital counseling. So it's kind of like I won't marry you until you go through some premarital counseling. And so
that's what's up.
Then there's other things like sorority, church affiliation. So like when it comes to church, it's going to always be a priority. So just kind of prioritizing and then knowing I need my day job to support the other things, but then there's also a cutoff. So when I go home, whether it's between 5 and 7, now I have to shift into being a spouse or a grandmother or a mother. So it's just kind of like finding a balance. And like I had shared with you earlier, boundaries and balance is going to be the key for me, especially within these next couple of years. And saying no. Boundaries and balance to me, and saying no is going to be the key in keeping that. And then sometimes just, being okay with saying no to projects just because I don't have the capacity to put 100% into it, or it may not be of interest, or pass it on to somebody else that may have an interest. So
I bet you be giving away like big projects too, because you always like you always make something huge. It be like in big details. So I know it gotta be something that you're working on now that is taking so much of your time that you're not ready to present to the world just yet. Am I kind of hitting it?
Well, kind of, sort of. I would. It's more like a goal. So under D-Risen Production, I do
Okay.
have the Grammy Life podcast, and so I was able to finally sit down and draft up a children's book.
Wow.
So I'm in the process
Okay.
of writing a children's book under the umbrella of Grammy Life Adventure Presents, and so I hope to roll that out in May by Mother's Day. And
Hmm.
then what I'm going to be really tackling, focusing on probably the next 5 months, gonna take a little break, is gonna be the QPR trainings. I decided to beef up my suicide prevention training and do that once a month. That's gonna be every fourth Monday of the month at the Us Cafe. I have officially made the Us Cafe as a training site right here
Oh,
in
okay.
Heights. So hopefully I can draw people there, make the training more conducive and light and a safe space for people to share so we can have these conversations so that we can have a decrease in suicide ideations as well as attempts. So that's going to
Mm.
start Monday, which is the 22nd. Doors will
Okay.
open at 5:30. I'll be serving anytime I do a training, I always serve dinner of some sort. So we'll have dinner 5:30. I told our barista to stay so he can make some specialty drinks or whatever. It is a certificate based, but that's going to be something that's going to be a big project to me. Um, Increasing my suicide my suicide trainings is going to be a big project for me. Do I anticipate it? Because it's all about
Okay.
saving life. Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course. And so what is like the whole program called? Is it what you told me is QSR?
It's QPR, so it stands for
QPR.
question, persuade, and then refer. And so basically just gets into if someone is in a crisis situation, what to look for. Because oftentimes, you might be sitting next to Bree and she might be having a mental breakdown. And you will never know because you don't know what to look for. You don't know what to look for the signs, the behaviors, and things like
Right,
that. So
right.
pretty much equips people what to look for when an individual is in a crisis situation.
Mm. That's big because even not just home, I'm thinking about in law enforcement as well. And if I want to
Oh
take
yeah.
another notch, because they deal with people on an everyday basis, and we all see like the disconnect between not just in family, but you know, with everyday people. So that'll be like a great way for others to identify that type of, I guess, gap between a mentally ill individual or in a non-person that's not
Right.
mentally or not as mentally ill. It's
Right.
just say,
And we all have probably had some bouts of depression, ongoing sadness. Things happen, you lose a job, you may lose a loved one, a
right,
relative, you may have to move, relocate, you're leaving your friend. These are things that cause people to be sad. Some
right,
situation is just an ongoing sadness that just kind of like never ends. And I would say that most people do get diagnosed. Some people go undiagnosed. And it's
hmm,
kind of like we have to begin to have those conversations of talking about how we feel, men included, because we've seen in Muskegon that we've have had men, young men, African American males that have committed suicide because they're not sharing how they feel. Because we know men have been told you can't cry, you can't show your emotions.
right,
But when you do, you're like a ticking time bomb, and it's like you just explode and it's not, the outcome's not going to be great. Matter of fact, I just was talking to a gentleman this morning. I got a call about a young man that was having some suicide ideations. And to
wow,
just be able to speak life and hope into him and letting him know that, first of all, it's okay to cry. And I said, I commend you for tapping into your emotions. I said, if you want to spend the day all day crying, by all means do so. I'm telling you, it's okay to do so. Let it out however that you need to. And then from there, we just kind of got into what does it look like as far as his support system and then getting help if
right,
he was open to seeing a therapist or even getting clinically diagnosed because it wasn't his first time he had these thoughts. And so just that 22 minutes of talking to someone and being able to bring them down in a calming space.
Right.
I definitely know my purpose, and it's become a path.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
like I've taken the QPR trainings have gone beyond a training, and it's become more of a ministry. Anytime you can speak life and hope into someone, so it's become more near and dear and passionate to me. So.
That's Thank you for sharing that one, sis. That's dope. That's big right there. How so how did you identify this gift? Did it become something that you went through personally, or you had a family member, or what's going on?
Well, 20 something years ago, I too had some suicide ideations, which is thoughts. And I had a plan, two plans. I never acted on them. The last plan I had was I was gonna take my life
Right.
and that of my daughters. I was gonna drive a truck into the lake. Um I never thought about doing QPR. I didn't even know that QPR existed. When I was employed at Health West, was approached by a guy named Michael Pine. He's my mentor, and he
Okay.
was like, "Hey, we got these trainings. Would you be interested in becoming a trainer?" And I'm just like, And so I went to MCC, spent 8 hours, and got trained as a QPR instructor. And for the first couple of years, like I said, it was just more like just doing the trainings. But then I had to recap and think about my own personal experience with having suicide ideation. So once I began to think about that, my whole mindset changed, and then my approach to how I do the trainings. So taking lived experiences, things
Huh.
that I've gone through. I've had a daughter that's had a mental breakdown, um, where she actually had to be put in a facility for a couple of days. I had a niece who attempted suicide by taking pills, and there's like an audio recording. So when I think about these lived experiences and tying them to the training to make the trainings more to where people can make a connection, it's kind of like well, if Derek went through this, or if this person went through that, it's kind of like a me too. So I try to get it to where people can make a connection, but I never would have thought in a million years that I'll be doing QPR training. But like I said, when I think about my own issues, and like I said, we don't talk about our past. We don't want people to know what we've gone through. But when I
Right.
think about
That's
it,
the
what I've
person.
gone through is not for me, but it's to help the next person.
Oh wow. And I know that took a lot to actually face your own demons, let the
Yeah,
skeleton go to a closet, so to speak. Because that when
because
I
we
did
all
it, it
got
was
them.
scary. I know it's like, oh
We all
shoot,
got the skeletons.
man, that's like I got a couple of graveyards in this one closet.
Right. But
So
at
I
times
can only imagine.
it does help, it kind of opens up the door, the Pandora's box a little bit for people to like take a deep breath and say, like, you know what, I've had, or my loved one, or I know somebody. So it's kind of opened up the doors for people to feel comfortable to share their stories. And even in some of the trainings that I've done, I've had people that have opened up to share
Wow.
their stories and their bouts. And that's why when I think about doing it at the cafe, it would be like a nice intimate setting. I think about when I was doing poetry. I did poetry in a nice intimate setting to where people can be
Right.
themselves and not be judgmental. And so I want to make sure that these trainings that people feel safe, they feel comfortable to express how they feel and to share so they can help the next person that may be having suicide ideations or in a crisis situation.
Wow. So what all so are you just doing this out of your or own organization, or are you sharing this with other organizations around you? Like who
The
collaborate?
well, right now I'm pretty much collaborating with the Us Cafe as far as like the building space. And I work with Health West because I get some of our materials to them. But other than that, I'm more like independent. So if anyone wants to have the QPR training and they seek me out, I'm willing to go to any organization, any company, any family reunion. I'm willing to go wherever the need is or where there's a want. So it's more like an independent thing.
Okay. Oh wow. And you have done so many like conferences that I know and stuff like that. Like it's amazing how much it shows. Okay, how can I say it, Mel? Think with your mind. Uh, so to me it tells two to three different things. For one, people are finally realizing that mental health is very important. Number two, you hit the topic hard when you said a lot of us males, especially in the African American community, we don't have that safe haven to speak and present ourselves as being vulnerable.
Right.
You know, it's dangerous in our world, sort of.
Right.
You know, so is, and three, it is great that we have a person that we can relate to and actually can say that she has witnessed these things, and I understand why you're screaming and while you're like furious right now, but don't understand why. So
Right.
all those weird questions and stuff, you can relate hands to hand to a person, and I feel like that's the biggest superpower that you have.
Right.
Because relating to people is a difficult task.
Well, thank you.